Renting or buying a home? Which is better? Buying a home has many benefits. It builds your equity, it usually comes with property taxes that pay for local services like schools and police departments, and it lets you make repairs or upgrades without the hassle of hiring contractors or taking out loans. The decision to buy a house is not an easy one, though. You need to know how much money you have in the bank so you can make an educated guess about whether or not you can afford to buy a home. This article will help you weigh the pros and cons of renting versus buying a house. Rent versus buy. What's the deal? Many people debate whether it is better to rent or buy a home. There are pros and cons to both renting and buying, and the decision ultimately comes down to what is best for your individual situation. If you are someone who likes to move around frequently, then renting might be the better option for you. Renting gives you the flexibility to move when you need or want to without being tied down to a mortgage. On the other hand, if you know you want to stay in one place for a while, buying a home can be a great investment. When you own your home, you build equity with each mortgage payment. You also have the potential to sell your home down the road for a profit. There are financial considerations to take into account when making the rent versus buy decision as well. In general, it is cheaper to rent than to buy, especially when you factor in the cost of maintenance and repairs that come with owning a home. However, monthly rental prices can fluctuate and rise over time, while your mortgage payments will stay the same, assuming you have a fixed-rate mortgage. The difference between buying and renting. The decision of whether to buy or rent a home is a big one. There are pros and cons to both renting and buying, and the best option for you will depend on your individual circumstances. Here's a look at the key differences between buying and renting a home. Cost. The biggest advantage of buying a home is that you build equity over time. With each mortgage payment, you own a little more of your home. On the other hand, renting means that you're never going to own the property you're living in. Maintenance. As a homeowner, you're responsible for all maintenance and repairs on your property. This can be costly and time-consuming. When you rent, your landlord is responsible for most, if not all, repairs and maintenance. Flexibility. Renting gives you much more flexibility than owning. If you need to move for work or personal reasons, it's usually easier, and cheaper, to break a lease than it is to sell a home. These are just some of the key differences between buying and renting a home. Ultimately, the best option for you will depend on your unique circumstances. Financial benefits of renting. There are many financial benefits to renting a home rather than buying one. For one, you won't have to worry about a mortgage, property taxes, or upkeep costs. These can add up to a significant amount of money over time, and can be a real burden for homeowners. Additionally, if you rent, you may have the opportunity to move more often, which can be great if you like change or want to live in a different area. Finally, renting can provide flexibility if your income changes. If you get laid off or have other financial troubles, it's much easier to find a new place to rent than it is to sell a home. Financial benefits of buying a home. There are many financial benefits to owning a home, including the potential for equity growth, tax deductions, and more. Here we will explore some of the key financial benefits of buying a home. One of the most obvious financial benefits of buying a home is the potential for equity growth. As your home appreciates in value, your equity grows along with it. This can provide a nice nest egg for retirement or future home purchases. Another financial benefit of owning a home is the ability to deduct mortgage interest and property taxes on your income taxes. This can save you a significant amount of money each year. Lastly, owning a home can give you peace of mind in knowing that your housing costs are fixed. Unlike renting, where landlords can raise the rent at any time, your mortgage payments will stay the same for the life of the loan, assuming you have a fixed-rate mortgage. This can provide valuable budgeting certainty. How much can you afford to spend on a down payment? Whether you're renting or buying a home, one of the most important factors to consider is how much you can afford to spend on a down payment. For renters, the amount you can afford to spend on a deposit will depend on the landlord's policies and the size of your budget. For buyers, the amount you can afford to spend on a down payment will depend on the price of the home and your financial situation. If you're thinking about buying a home, it's important to save up as much money as possible for a down payment. The larger your down payment, the lower your monthly mortgage payments will be. In some cases, you may be able to get away with a smaller down payment, but this will typically result in a higher interest rate and monthly payments. If you're renting, the amount you can afford to spend on a deposit will vary depending on the landlord's policies. Some landlords require first and last month's rent plus a security deposit, while others only require a security deposit. Be sure to ask about the landlord's policy before signing a lease. No matter whether you're renting or buying, it's important to consider how much you can afford to spend on a down payment. What if you break your lease early? If you find yourself in a situation where you need to break your lease early, there are a few things you can do to minimize the damages. First, try to find another tenant to take over your lease. This is often the most ideal solution, as it means the landlord won't be out any money and you won't have to pay a penalty for breaking your lease. If you can't find someone to take over your lease, your next best option is to negotiate with your landlord. Be prepared to offer them a sum of money to cover their losses, usually 1 or 2 months' rent, in exchange for being released from your lease. And finally, if all else fails, you can always try to sublet your apartment. However, this option is often not allowed in leases, so be sure to check before you proceed. Thanks for watching. See you on the next episode.